world's gone mad. Or, as we like to say in French, le monde, c'est fou. We all fondly imagine that romantic weekend in Paris, strolling down the Rue Saint-Dominique on our way to the Latin Quarter. Alas, Paris these days, thanks to left-wing governments and out-of-control immigration, ain't quite what it used to be, as these young German girls found out recently after booking a hotel in the less salubrious parts of the City of Love.
Irgendwie auch keine Worte. Machst du Little Jetzt auch keine Worte. War hier Bürgerkrieg? Was ist denn los hier?
Still, it could have been worse. Those poor German girls could have booked themselves a trip to New York, where on the west side of Manhattan, near 30th Street, you can marvel at this magnificent work of postmodern art, the Foot Fountain. It's described as, quote, an irreverent take on the tradition of classical fountains that are commonly plopped into the middle of a square or in gardens. To me, it's simply a grotesque, left-wing, woke abomination. But what would I know? Speaking of postmodernism, the marketing directors at car manufacturer Jaguar must be licking their wounds, following a near-complete collapse in their sales after last year's disastrous woke transgender advertising campaign. Remember this postmodern abomination? When that ridiculous ad came out late last year, I was one of many people to warn it would be a complete disaster. And it turns out my old advertising instincts were correct. That ad and Jaguar's woke EV approach saw Jaguar's European sales in April plunge by 97.5%, from 1,961 units to just 49 vehicles sold across all of Europe, marking a near-total collapse following its rebranding exercise. But if companies go broke when they go woke, is there a similar phenomenon when celebrities go woke? Does it equally have a 97.5% negative impact on their performances? In order to find out, I decided to conduct a little scientific experiment. Here is Beyoncé pre-woke. And here is Beyoncé, who publicly backed Kamala Harris, post-woke, strutting her stuff more recently. Oh dear, I'd say that's at least a 97.5% decline in celebrity appeal. And to think she used to be able to dance. But here, let's try another one to test my theory. Here's Latino heartthrob J-Lo, back in the day. Okay, and here's post-woke J-Lo, another who supported Kamala. Let's see how it's going. Oh dear, maybe not a 97.5% decline in celebrity appeal, but not far off it. But what is it that all this giving the finger to everybody is all about? This is what passes for imaginative, left-wing posturing, brave political posturing these days. Here's washed-out woke Fatboy Slim at Glastonbury. Oh, so brave, so politically inspired, which brings me, of course, to the most disgusting performance at this year's Glastonbury Music Festival, the supposed cultural highlight of the woke year. Once upon a time, Glastonbury was all about the hot new bands and celebrating the icons of the past, but nowadays it's just hardcore, left-wing, pro-Palestinian propaganda. In fact, this year's scenes from the crowd resembled Gaza more than Glastonbury. But the low point was the performance by the repugnant rap punk group Bob Vylan, who decided to use the stage and the fact they were being streamed live to millions of kids to call for the death of Jewish men and women defending their country, Israel, from rapists and terrorists.
But have you heard this one, though? Death, death to the IDF! Death, death to the IDF! Death, death to the IDF!
These creeps were unfortunately not alone, and several other acts chanted or displayed their own grotesque Jew hatred. The BBC have been shamed, the local police are investigating, and commentators are pointing out, and I agree, just how sick and disgustingly woke Britain has become. By the by, for all those people who are labelled conspiracy theorists and racists for suggesting that the UK is being invaded by immigrants, Mr. Villain also sings a charming little ditty called, quote, "I heard you want your country back, shut the F up," end of quote, a slogan he chants over and over again, presumably to get his point across. Mercifully, the Trump administration has stepped in and revoked the visa of these vile punk rappers, who were due to tour the States later this year, and Bob Villain have been dropped from gigs and festivals they were due to perform at in Manchester, in France and in Germany. Good, excellent. But the one point the woke Glastonbury bands, promoters, celebrities and crowds appear to have chosen to ignore is that it was at a concert very similar to Glastonbury, with a very similar audience and similar bands. The Nova Festival in southern Israel on October 7th, 2023, that the pro-Palestinian Hamas terrorists butchered thousands of innocent young people, concertgoers, murdering, raping, torturing and abducting them. Perhaps the wokerati at Glastonbury might have considered a minute's silence to commemorate those appalling deaths rather than waving their flags and chanting their obnoxious slogans of Jew hatred and of celebrating the killers. Or indeed, how about a minute's silence at Glastonbury to remember those young innocent people murdered by terrorists at other rock concerts? The Bataclan concert in Paris, for example, 90 people dead, 20 hostages taken. Or how about a minute's silence for the 22 people killed and the many more injured by a suicide bomber at the Ariana Grande concert in Manchester? People were pulling nails out of the faces of children. Or why not a minute's silence at Glastonbury to remember the Orlando Pulse nightclub, 39 people killed by a homophobic Islamic State sympathiser? Or the Dolphinarium nightclub in Tel Aviv, another Hamas atrocity where 29 people, mainly teenage girls, were killed. There was also, of course, the 3 Taylor Swift concerts in Vienna cancelled due to terrorism threats, and whatever the motive, the horrific slaying of 3 little girls at a Taylor Swift dance party in England is something else that the Glastonbury crowd might have deigned to remember. What a despicable bunch. Worse, some of those young people at Glastonbury showed no remorse about the vile display of hatred and still refused to even condemn Hamas.
I'm not going to stand here and condemn Hamas. I'm not going to do that.
You're not going
I'm going to stand here and condemn the IDF, the occupation, and the role of Western imperialism in that entire region.
Fiona, hang on 1 second.
It is sick. But then again, is it really all that surprising that gullible and impressionable young people have bought into this narrative when the media and academia and many parents have feted such role models such as this ridiculous woman?
Today I am joining thousands of people in Budapest in Hungary who are defying Viktor Orbán's desperate attempt to ban the Pride March. Pride is both a protest but also a celebration of love and who we are. This is yet another fascist attack on human rights, but you cannot ban love. So I hope to see you all on the streets.
How dare you? Ah, yes, Greta Thunberg again. First it was climate change, then it was Gaza. Now she's back on the rainbow bandwagon. For someone who doesn't like travelling, Greta seems to get around a fair bit. But what's this about not being able to ban love? Not much love in these comments where Greta was cackling and yelling out F Germany and F Israel.
Israel.
Here in Australia, we're not immune from this vile stupidity. Here's a woman standing in front of an Aboriginal flag banging on about the Intifada.
Long live the Intifada! Ali, Ali, Ali! وعلي علم الثورة علي! علي علي علي!
Of course, women standing or even kneeling on a street corner venting their rage has a long and proud history stretching all the way back to the first inauguration of Donald Trump in 2017.
Donald J. Trump is now President of the United States. President
I do miss her, but these days lefty women are getting much smarter. Here's the latest plan for people to bring the Trump administration to a crashing halt.
What if millions of us stopped working, stopped spending, and stopped producing all at the same time? There's a movement brewing. It's called the People's Sick Day, and what it is a 3-day economic blackout. That means no work, no shopping, no production, just pause. 3 days where we remind the system that without us, nothing moves.
No working? Sounds like most of them anyway. For other young sufferers of chronic TDS, apparently the way to vent your spleen is to attack the patrons in your restaurant.
You know what? There's one thing about me as a server. If you come into my job with a MAGA hat on, you can leave. Get out. We don't serve your kind here. Y'all want to be racist so bad? Okay, let me discriminate against you. And if somebody else gets to them before I do, oh, best believe I'm spilling your drinks, your food, your hot-ass ramen all over you. You're gonna leave here with 3rd-degree burns. Get the out of my restaurant.
I hope the owners of that restaurant are aware that they have a sociopath for a waitress, and I'm not sure that banning 77 million Americans, 1 in 2 potential customers from your cafe, is a really great business model. For others, such as Kamala's former running mate, Tim Waltz, there's no better TDS therapy than jazz hands at a Pride festival. Still, it could have been worse. It could have been Joe Biden marching down the street in his somewhat robotic and discombobulated state. Here is a side-by-side visual comparison. On one side of your screen is a mindless, robotic, mechanical creature on automatic pilot, and on the other side of your screen is a device on display at a cybertech convention. Spot the difference? Yes, folks, he really was the President of the United States, and it truly was a world gone mad.